Hey, hello, my friends. Welcome to the Artist Next Level podcast. We are very excited to be here with you today. Here in the studio, we have our good friend Drew Harris, and you have me, and we're gonna have a great chat. He's going to actually lead us in a wonderful conversation about the subject of growth.
Resources, inspiring interviews, business practices, and practical advice to take your art career to the next level. Join Sergio Gomez in today's Artist Next Level and get ready to take control of your career.
Well, hello, Drew. Good to see you, my friend. How are you?
I'm very well, sir. Thank you very much. I don't know why this year seemingly more excited than I was last year.
Yeah, and I think it's because it's an even number. I mentioned in one of the webinars
That's
earlier,
right.
the first weekend, like 2024, it just looks nice. Visually as typography 2024, it just fits right. The trio, it always kind of seems a little odd.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, well, as both as graphic designers, yes, it is something visually pleasing too.
Yeah.
But I think it's an exciting year because the world is in a difficult spot at the moment,
Yeah.
and we can't shy away from that. We know this affects all our lives. But I think this year, I don't know about you, but I've spoken with a lot of people. The end of December and into the first week of January, which we are, second week now.
Mm-hmm.
And there seemed to be much more positivity. A lot more people saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to ignore the things that I can ignore and, only focus on the things that affect me or my family or my career. Right. And go about 2024 with a little bit more positivity. And that takes us to the concept of, which is really what we're going to talk about today, which is about growth. How do we grow? How do we grow through adversity? How do we, prune that tree that we've got, and we want to see new growth and development? How do we do that? And these are going to be some, this is really a conversation between you and I about, and our listeners, of course, about thinking about growth and some suggestions. I'd like to know a little bit more about what how you grow through adversity. Yeah. And last year was both a good year and kind of an odd year for you.
Yeah.
You had a mild illness sort of midway through the year.
Right.
And you were fighting that and, trying to keep the business rolling and keeping us motivated and keeping a lot of artists motivated, which you did. And kudos to you.
Thank you.
But at the same time, you had made a decision to leave Chicago and move to Miami.
Right.
And that move, as I understand it, should have happened a lot quicker, or you would have preferred it moving a little bit quicker.
Right.
It did not. And so there were delays, of course. And this affects everybody. This affects your business. It affects the family, everything else. So there's a lot of concern. So the end part of the year, you were really just getting your feet back on the ground. You're now in Miami. It's a new season, as you say, which I love. I love that concept.
Right.
Instead of a new year or a new time or a new opportunity, a new season really describes it well. So now this is a growth season for you.
Yeah, and kind of like to give some context to what you said for our friends. Last year the way I visualize it in my head is like if you have a box of cereal and you shake it all up, and then you put it back in the table. It take a minute for all the little cereal pieces to fall in place. That's how my half of the year from May to December looked like. Like the box was being shaken, right?
Did you find the prize?
Yeah, I wish, but well, maybe I did, right? I got to Miami, so yes, I guess I did. But no, you know what? I started 2023 very excited because of the way, we anticipated the time. We did our kind of like our own here with Dr. Ena, we sat down and we figured out, okay, this might be scenario A, scenario B, scenario C, but we never anticipated scenario D, which was me
Yeah.
getting sick in the whole summer season when we were supposed to be like in the thick of packing and all that. So I have this thing with vertigo, and I hadn't had a vertigo episode in like maybe 4 years, and then came with a vengeance in the summertime. So
Hmm.
right in the middle of this whole thing, at the same time with my daughter was about to start school here in Miami. So we wanted to move around the same time or a little bit before she moved, because everybody kept saying, "Oh, your house is gonna sell really fast. It's a beautiful house, blah 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 blah." So when everybody tells you your house is it's gonna sell really quick, you're like, "Oh, it's gonna sell really
Uh-oh.
quick, right?" You think that's what's gonna happen because
The
you,
jinx.
yeah, everybody says that, and then when it takes longer than you expect, and then you have some setbacks and all of that, just threw the whole schedule off. We had to come and move my daughter first, go back to Chicago, finish the sale of the house, come to here to Florida to buy a new house in a weekend, literally in a
Yeah,
weekend.
that is just crazy to me. But
Yeah,
you lucked out. So I think that
we we feel that, I mean, we knew, both of us know what we were looking for, and we had, of course, been looking at houses online and things like that, but we had been doing a lot of prayer and a lot of thinking, and I think, at the end, the hard deadline was arrived to Miami before Art Basel week, because we had to be
Mhm.
there and we had to take care of the gallery, and it would have been really, really bad to have stayed in Chicago because of then the whole moving of the artwork and all that would have been totally messed up. But
Yeah,
fortunately, we got here 2 weeks before Art Basel, so we got here
wonderful.
and we closed the
So
house.
prayers were being answered.
Yeah, totally. And the house, the house that we love, and that we are very happy. So yeah, it's like a clean slate. We begin now, 2024. We're like, okay, we made it. It's a new opportunity to do some changes, to adapt again, to start, with a blank slate, and
Yeah.
let's go for it.
Well, and this is it's a great segue and a great introduction to that, because I think not only you but a number of us, had the end of the year was it posed some challenges for
Yeah.
not only the world
Hmm.
but individually. Speaking with a number of people, they did feel that things were going slightly awry.
Yeah.
And everything sort of evened out by the end of the year.
Hmm.
And myself, I was not so well.
Yeah. You had your
Just
own.
in December, yeah,
Yeah, you had your
and
own setbacks of your own. Yeah.
yes, that's right, and also making a move last year. So
Right.
everything everything was kind of like, as you say, the big cereal box in the air. Nothing
Thank you.
was falling into place quite what we liked.
Hmm.
However, by the end of December, things were refocused, and which
Yeah.
brings me to now. We are. This is a great moment. You're planting seeds
Yeah.
and you're watching growth
Right.
happen.
Right.
And I really love that image of watching trees and plants. And where you are, of course, there's lots of greenery. Where I am, of course, in Kuala
Hmm.
Lumpur, lots of greenery. So I get to see things grow, and I'm
Yeah.
quite fascinated by it. And this year, the artist next level is starting a growth challenge,
Challenge. Hmm.
and that word will be very important throughout the year. It's not just growing at the beginning of the year. We're
Right.
going to be growing throughout the year. That's really interesting to me. But I'm curious from an artist's perspective. You as both as a business person and a fine artist,
Hmm.
um, growth is how, what are your first steps in
Yeah.
in your personal growth?
We,
What is it that you have to do to prioritize your
Yeah.
own, from seedling to
Right.
growth? What is it that you commonly do?
Right. And that's a great question, because I was thinking about that even last year, when we were not moved, we were still in Chicago at this time of the year. I was thinking about how can I grow, right? How can I make myself push myself a little bit better, and like find new grounds and new ideas. And I've always found that, particularly in more recent years, that as I'm more aware of, that for me to grow, I need to change my my routine
Mm.
and my learning, also. For me to grow, I need to learn, right? So I need to find like new voices I need to listen to. I need to find new people who inspire me at that particular moment. And sometimes maybe somebody who I have already heard before, but it didn't resonate with me until a particular point when I'm more in tune with that particular person's message. Like, wow, this is for me right now. And then I,
Yeah.
I, I really sit down to really listen to their advice, to think about how does it apply to me as an artist, to me as an entrepreneur, to me as a family member too, and a friend, and all the different aspects. So for me, growth is about that. It's about putting myself in a position where I can learn.
Yes.
Because I
Yeah.
think if I keep continuing doing what I have done, and expecting I'm gonna grow more, it's not gonna happen. It's just an illusion, because I'm not changing anything to make the space for growth. And if it's real
Yes.
growth is gonna teach you something you didn't know. So in order to make
Yes.
space for something you don't know, you had to create the groundwork for it, right? Um, for me, at least, it makes it easier that we move, so I have a new environment. But even if I didn't
Yes.
have a
It's
new environment,
always
yeah.
good. Yeah.
But even if I didn't have that, I would think, okay, what things I need to change in my routine, what things I need to move around, so that my brain feels that something is changing, so that then I can then understand better that I'm in a season I need to learn new things so I can grow.
Yeah. I
That's
think
all.
one of my observations with you, which I quite find admirable, that you can compartmentalize.
Yeah.
Uh, and we've talked about this before. A PCO, prioritize,
Hmm.
compartmentalize, and organize.
Yeah.
And I really love that PCO. I just sort of, it's always in the back of my head.
Hmm.
And that's exactly what you've done. You've come from Chicago, you're into a new environment, as you say, into your
Yeah.
home,
Hmm.
but you don't have a studio. You're also a visual artist,
Right.
equally, a career, a full career as a visual
Right.
artist. You're a gallery director, and you
Hmm.
are also a business
Right.
man, and that needs an office and an office
Hmm.
chair and office table.
Right.
So you've got three very, very strong components there.
Hmm.
And what I admired was the fact that you have the discipline and the maturity to say, okay, well, let's prioritize the things that are most important,
Right.
for you, for your business, for your personal life, for your artwork. So
Right.
now you've found a small gallery, and really a place that will change eventually
Hmm.
over time. You built your office
Hmm.
studio. That's a priority. You're building a program for your
Hmm.
program,
Right.
and it's a really strong one this year. The one thing you haven't done is, I don't you're not painting, and
Right.
that can often be the difficult one for artists, because the first thing we're going to complain about as artists is
Yeah.
like, oh, I can't create.
Right.
But what you've done, seamlessly, is you're putting a lot of what you're creative into the business thinking,
Yeah.
right? Without the actual application of doing
Of
paintings
doing
and
pain.
getting a mess, and you can say, okay, I'm going to set that aside. And I think that that's a really key ability
Hmm.
and a maturity that a lot of artists grapple with. I know I did,
Yeah.
making my move. I knew that I could set my painting aside, but every day it was itching at me. And I
Yeah.
thought, I've got to get to work. I've got to start painting. I've got to do this.
Right.
Uh, I didn't for a while, but it gnawed at me every day.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
do you always feel like you're walking around with like one and a half legs
Yeah. That's a
rather than two full legs?
it's a good question. No, you know what? Since we made the move, I decided, okay, I'm gonna work in stages, right? So what's the first thing I need to do, depending on also on other aspects. For example, so there's the gallery, there's the art next level, which is our coaching program, and then there's also, of course, my studio practice, right? So as you mentioned, those three areas. So I say, okay, out of those three areas, which one can stay longer, without activity? It's not the coaching program, because if I just say, okay, buddy, we're gonna be closed, for 3 months, then the we are there to help people. Then
Yeah,
it
and
will
you
be
you will just have to restart that,
it
and
will
it,
have,
and it,
yeah,
a
and,
lot more
and
challenges.
well, and it would be really bad in from me to just drop everyone, right? And we are a community, and as a
Yes.
community, we
Yeah.
support each other. I feel that I need that community myself, so I'm not gonna drop the community. Then I'm moving, and then feeling disconnected from my community would be even the worst thing, right? So
Yes, of course.
so we
Yeah.
said, okay, so first thing, I need to have the office so I can work in the community, and from there that would be like my operations room. Then after that, the space for the gallery, right? So we can function. What fortunately worked really well, again, thanks to friends here that we have in Miami, we were able to, even before we came here, we already had a showroom space where we have already the gallery set. So that made everything 100% easier, for Art Basel, and
Right.
artists were shipping directly to the gallery, and then afterwards. So that part, it just, well, it was like a blessing. It was like, okay, great, that's a check mark. The
Mhm.
last one, of course, that still needs to be resolved is my studio. So
Yeah.
in Chicago, I had different seasons. I had seasons in which I had the studio at the Adobe Art Center, and then when the pandemic came, I moved my studio home, and then after the pandemic, I said, well, I'm already home, I might as well just keep it at home.
Yeah.
And but now in this season, I'm really rethinking my studio practice on
Good.
how,
Yeah.
yeah, on how I want to run it. So this is how I have it resolved in my head right now, right? And again, and it is all a test. So I'm going to have, and I'm actually, this week is in my to-do list. I'm shopping for an easel, a nice easel that I can put right next to the office, which I never had. I always had a studio separate from the office because they're two different things, right? In my brain, like I said, two different compartments. But I want to challenge myself, so even when I'm in the office, I can turn and I can see my painting that I may be working on. So I'm gonna have that, but I'm just gonna have just one piece. It's not gonna be a messy studio. It's just gonna be one easel with one painting, with a set of paintings. Like, I love to. This is like a side note. I love to buy books of artists in their studios, and I
Hmm.
love like the Messi studio, and I love like the Liechtenstein, a studio that is super clean, or some of the artists that I love, the studios that look absolutely insanely clean, and like, how can somebody work there, right? But so I want to push myself to have this one spot where everything is like, it's just super neat, right, and clean. And so when I bring this other thing, we're gonna be hosting more people in the house here. So when bring people in, I want them to see a work in progress. Want to see behind the scenes. If I do a
Yes.
video, I want to pull my easel so people can see what I'm working on. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to, in this season in life, I want to open my doors more to of my studio, which technically a lot is supposed to be like a sacred private space for the artist, which I
Yes,
think
that's
it still
right.
is. But
Yeah.
I want to open it up. I want to pull the curtain. So in one way, so that would be one, having one piece that I could work on at any given time. After this podcast, I could work in, and while I have that here at home, I want to then have a more proper, bigger studio outside of the home. But what I'm thinking, the way I'm picturing it in myself right now, is like, what if instead of signing a lease for a whole year or 2 year lease on this space. What if I find a space that I can rent for 3 months? And then after that's done, find another place that I can rent for a month. And when that's done,
Right.
maybe I can find a space at the beach, right, where I can rent for
Fantastic.
3 weeks and move there. And then that's over. And maybe I find another space where I can share with an artist for, 2 months. So
Right. And with your organizational skills, which I know
Mhm.
you're pretty buttoned down, this is a really great challenge in itself, is
Yeah,
just having, a traveling studio. How do
I
you
want
do this?
exactly like the traveling circus. I want to be like a traveling studio,
Yeah.
which will push me to think with the type of work I do. It will push me to think the materials that I use, how I travel,
And I think this
how
is
I
in line with
function.
your community concept too,
Oh yeah,
because
exactly.
now,
Like I want to
yeah,
meet new
and so
people.
yeah, of course, you will see and be inspired by
Hmm.
assortment of people throughout that journey. Wherever you set your studio up, you're
Right.
going to have a new influence.
Yeah.
You're going to be also seen by a new crowd of
Exactly.
people, right? A new
Yeah.
interest. So that's a
Totally right.
really good, almost if I may say, that is
Hmm.
a really good, smart business move as well.
Yeah.
Even though it is, considered your creative career,
Yeah.
uh, this is a really wise. And I think we as artists, well, first of all, I salute you for doing that. A
Thank
lot
you.
of artists can't or wouldn't consider that, but I
Yeah.
think many of us could do it. And
Yeah.
I think it's a
And
really important part to keep
yeah.
us stimulated, keep
Hmm.
keep our audience stimulated. If you just show up one day and you're, renting a studio for 3 weeks and you're, inviting the public in,
Hmm.
I think how exciting,
Oh yeah.
it's exciting for them
Yeah.
and exciting for you. And
Uh,
then before it all wears off,
yeah.
you pack it all in your boxes
And
and
I'm
you're
gone.
gone
Yeah.
again.
When I'm already having my eyes open. Like, what if I see one of these? There's a shopping district where it's very long and there's a lot of shops. There's a lot of people. Like, what if one of these shops goes out of business soon and they have the space open for a month or so? I don't need anything. All I need is a wall or walls.
Yeah, that's it.
I
That's it.
don't just
Well,
walk
you
in and say,
see,
hey, I'll rent it for you for half the price while you find somebody. I'm not gonna touch anything. Just need your walls and your lights. And I'll
yeah.
be I'll be working like a fish in a tank where people can walk through and open the doors, people can come in and talk and ask and then
And I'll
they
tell
come
you,
back next
man,
month and I'm gone. Where did he go?
yeah. Just a business card stuck to the window,
Yeah, your QR
moved.
code. As long as
And
they follow me on
here's
Instagram.
where I can find. Yeah, and
Yeah,
a QR code. Absolutely. You can be found anywhere. And I
exactly.
think we 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 do tend to, it's no different than going to a residency, really.
Right, exactly.
You get invited to a residency or you apply for,
Hmm.
you go for 2 or 3 weeks. You are setting up essentially a studio with new people, a new
Yeah.
environment. You're being inspired by that. And then, after that 3 weeks or so, you've had enough.
Hmm.
And you take away what you've learned and you bring it to another environment
Right.
or back to your regular environment. But in your case, you're going to just move to the next one.
Yeah,
And
and
I
and
think
and let's say
brilliant.
maybe an artist invites me to his or her studio to share for the month. Hey,
And
let's
it
go.
happens.
And it
We
happens.
start talking. Yeah, we start talking,
Mhm.
we start sharing, and we start opening our doors to,
Exactly.
possibilities and say, well, listen, instead of working in this, you know, old furniture store that you're working in, why don't you come and work with two or three of us in this
Yeah.
space,
Yeah.
for a couple of weeks? And you
Right.
go, okay, great.
Yeah.
And what a
I'm I'm
great
adaptable.
means to,
Yeah.
yeah. And the
I'm
idea that if you are, organized in your materials,
right.
right, there's nothing better than
Exactly.
I love traveling, but I love
Yeah.
the packing more so than I do the traveling. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just like you, I work with acrylic, so I don't have the
Yeah.
problem of waiting for 3 weeks for the paint to dry. I work on
Yeah.
paper, which I can roll. All I need is
Absolutely.
a wall. That's all I need. A wall. I can always bring a tarp for the floor,
Yeah.
and
You
and
see,
good
and
light.
this plays really well because this idea of growth. I'm going to bring it back
Yeah.
to the growth thing. This may, for some people, they may see that as perhaps not growing Uh, some people are they just need the stability of that one studio, that one space. It's
Yeah.
private. That
Well,
never changes.
that was me. You know, that's
Yeah,
been
of
my
course. That's
career for the longest time.
of course all of us.
I've always considered a studio a sacred place, you know, for the artist,
Yes.
and we don't have access. You know, even when somebody's there, it's kind of weird. If you share space, it's always takes time to get used to the other person being there with you, and you know, there's always an awkwardness to it. But yeah, I'm trying to. I'm trying.
Not for you, my friend. I think you can adapt to anything,
Well,
and
I
that's
mean,
the beauty, and that's why you know your strengths.
yeah,
This
yeah,
is your growth.
right. But
This is the seedlings that you're putting down.
yeah,
You already know that they're going to grow.
but you know
You
that
just
there's an area where I was thinking like, is there something wrong with me? Like if because like you said, you know, you haven't painted in quite a while, yeah, and I haven't painted probably now by now it's probably 3 months where I haven't touched a
mm.
brush, so that I'm painting a wall here in the house when we arrive. But yeah, I don't think that one counts for my portfolio. But you know, I was thinking, like, you know, is there something wrong with me? Like, I'm not missing it that much right now, right? That I feel just
That's
fine.
okay.
But and yeah, so then I started looking, like, okay, I'm gonna read at some of the artists that I admire. So I have this huge book of on Gerhard Richter, you know, of his last
Oh,
body
of
of works. I
course. Yeah.
went to see his
Yeah.
show, and I was reading the whole book starts with a long interview, and there's a question where the guy asking the interview says, "Well, you know, you're known as an artist who you have big gaps in which you don't paint anything." And he said, "Yeah, that's how I work. I have, you know, times in which I just don't work in the studio for 3 months or whatever, and I'm okay with it."
Brilliant.
And I'm like, "Well, if he's okay with it, I'm okay with it." So I don't think there's nothing wrong with me. It's
Yeah.
just
I
kind
don't
of
think people are
how it is.
sitting, as much as we like to believe that people are kind of wondering why we're not creating work.
Yeah,
I don't think a lot of people are sitting back saying, gee, I wonder why Drew Harris isn't painting paintings
yeah,
or Sergio. Really, for 3, 4 months, that's a break that we need, and
yeah.
everybody else does too. If you are constantly seeing new work always coming out of your studio, you might get, as a viewer, get sort of inundated by it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow. And nothing seems special then.
Right,
But that break for you, whether you're working or not, we'll just see something brand new come out of it, and
right,
and
right.
that much more exciting.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean again what the act of what is the artist's lie, right? Is it always when you have a brush in your hands, in this case of the painter? No, I think you know, even though I'm not creating, I'm doing a lot of looking, I'm doing a lot of writing, a
Mm,
lot of thinking, a lot of idea gathering. So
yeah,
there are other aspects, you know. I'm
of
absorbing
course,
my environment right now like a
of course.
sponge. You know,
Yeah,
everything is new for me. I sent you a picture this morning of, you know, for the first time in my life, I picked something from a tree and I eat it in the breakfast. And I never had that experience before. This is the
yeah. The
first time.
papaya.
Yeah, first time in my whole life that I got up early in the morning. Is January 8th. I will be freezing in Chicago, but I'm here in Miami. So I get up in the morning, went out for my run at 6:30 a.m. with my dog and on shorts, and it was lovely. I get here, the tree next to my house is a papaya tree. I see a papaya that's already yellow, and I grabbed it and it just lands on my hand. And I took a picture of it. I sent you the picture. I went to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
kitchen, washed it, got it, ate it for breakfast. I had never, you know, believe me or not, I'm 52. I had never had that experience in my life. I always live in
It's such
a
a
city or somewhere, you know, where you buy it, you go to the grocery store, you buy it, and that's how you eat the food. I had never
it's kind of
had this.
spiritual.
I
It is
had
kind of
it was the best
spiritual.
papaya in my yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
When you see it in a store, it's one thing. You can buy it for 99 cents a pound or
exactly.
whatever it is. But when you pick it from a tree and let it
Mhm.
fall into your hand and then go in and cut it and get the
Yeah,
aroma of it, it's
it's a
amazing.
gift.
We have
Yes,
banana trees in our
oh
lawn, which we
yeah,
are patiently waiting for them to grow. They're
yeah,
little baby bananas, and I keep
right.
posting them. They don't seem to be growing, but we are looking forward to that, and
Yeah,
any gardener knows that. And again, that comes back to what we originally talked about,
right.
was the seed.
Yeah,
Seed needs to grow that
yeah,
papaya
yeah.
tree,
It's a perfect
and the
analogy.
papaya trees, yeah. And the growth, then you pull away, that
Mm-hmm.
papaya fully grown, and it's full of seeds, and it will
Mm-hmm.
reseed somewhere else.
Right.
And that's really your life at the moment.
Yeah,
You're enjoying
and
those
that's
good
where
things.
the stage I am. I'm absorbing all
Yeah.
these new experiences. I'm like in Chicago. I had tomatoes that I planted and stuff, but I always had a bad luck with tomatoes. I only they had only a few here and there, and I was never happy. But this is like it was like boom. Like there's something different about a little tomato versus a papaya, right? That comes from
Yeah, yeah.
a big tree. It's
Well, it
like
is,
feel
and
like a
then they
grown
don't
up.
grow quite as readily or as fast, but when they do, and you get the finished fruit, it's amazing.
It's just
But
beautiful.
that
It's beautiful.
is again, a great analogy of that where you are today, you're actually seeing the fact that
Hmm.
and able to pick that papaya. You saw it.
Yeah.
You weren't focused in on doing a business thing, or you weren't behind a computer or behind a painting,
Right.
or in front of a painting. Uh, this is your season of
Right.
that moment of it's okay not to be painting, right?
Right.
I think a lot of artists, I've said it many times in our group. People say, "Well, how do you keep the motivation up as you grow as a painter?"
Hmm.
I think there is we're always doing something every day, drawing or painting or or doodling ideas, or we have our journal, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
I think those are important things to do. Always keep your hand moving,
Right.
but you don't have to. You can take as many months off as you want to regenerate. You don't need to create finished products, which is
Hmm.
great. But those little notes that you take every day just keeps you keeps the door open. And when
Right.
the door fully opens, you'll know it and you'll be ready
Yeah.
and you go into it
Yeah.
just as you are. And I think that this is something we need to remind people, because we do tend to get ourselves stuck in
Yeah.
thinking that I just have to be productive all the time in every aspect of my life. Well, you know what?
Right.
The laundry can wait.
Right.
The grocery shopping can wait if you're doing something else.
Yeah.
This is a year of, I think, for me, is
Hmm.
patience.
Patience.
It's
Yeah.
okay. You know what? It's okay. If last night I got stuck in the rain at a restaurant, on my motorcycle with
Yeah.
my wife, and we just said, you know what? We'll just leave it here. And we got a ride home,
Yeah.
and it's quite a distance, but we
Right.
just left the bike there because, there's nothing else you can do.
Right.
Perhaps 5 years ago, I would have panicked and said, no, 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 I'm going to ride home in the rain, with no rain jacket. So
Right.
I think that this year could be a year of, patience and just letting things
Giving
happen
more
organically.
grace. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And and
absolutely.
and on the practical side, the question comes like, okay, so if I'm not painting, right, as an artist or creating something that I can then call art, then what am I posting in social media, right? What am I going to do for 3 months without new material, right? Because that's a question that I get all the time. So, artists like, hey, I'm what do I do if I'm not working for the 2 weeks or 3 weeks, let alone
Well,
three
you're the
months?
guy to
Like,
answer this.
so I always say, then post what you have. I've been reposting a lot of the work that I had already made. Some of my favorites, like going back to the good old your favorite songs.
Yeah.
I'm been reposting a lot of things because you can now use for example, an Instagram reel that uses, let's say, 5 pieces of content. I can pick from my phone 5 different things. So it's like a remix. Every post is a remix of something that I already had, but because it's presented differently, for some people it might be new, for some might recognize already the work that I've done. It's okay. Nobody is counting, nobody's checking, nobody has time for that, right? and
Yeah.
and those who have time for that and may say something, well, that I'm not worried about those voices, because
No, you
those
won't hear
voices
that
don't
many.
matter to me. But
Yeah.
you
But
know
it keeps you engaged with an audience. You're still here. You're still, essential, and
Yeah,
you
and
still
I'm still
are.
posting, like I did before, even though
That's right.
I'm still posting paintings, I'm still posting process, I'm still posting.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the
And you
other
are
day,
building something.
Yeah,
You are building something, and when you do release the new work,
well, no,
it'll be
I
just
mean,
that much.
I'm not building anything new. I'm reposting everything that I already had.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I got that. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So yeah, because an artist says, Sergio, how you doing that? You know, you're traveling, you're still working, and I'm like, no, I'm not working. All the stuff that you're seeing is stuff that I have done before. That's not new.
yeah,
So we assume that people know what we know. We assume like, oh, they
yeah.
already seen this, or they already know about this work. They don't.
Well,
People
like
don't
you
remember.
said, you remind us all the time. What you post today is not necessarily going to
Yeah,
be seen
just
by
because you,
everybody.
yeah,
So if
just
you
because you posted it.
repost it next week,
Exactly.
that the other eyes will see it,
Yeah,
or more
exactly.
eyes will see it. So
Yeah.
yeah, and we just have to remember that. But I think going back to this growth thing,
Hmm.
so uh, I think it's brilliant actually what you're planning to do, and that takes some maturity as an artist to be able to say, I don't need the Gerhard Richter studio with the 30,000 feet and one painting and one
Right.
paintbrush, you know grandness of it all.
Hmm.
You can you What a great challenge by just keeping our studio kind of mobile. It's a
Right.
mobile studio, and you can pick up on the influences of your environment.
And that,
And
yeah, and that is just an idea that I have now. That doesn't mean like maybe the second place that I visit, I feel that that's it, and that must stay.
of course,
So
but you're
the
opening.
plan
That's
changes.
growth.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
The plan is to go with the flow, right, in this new season,
yeah.
and see where. But I also like when it comes to growth. I also like to think of like challenge myself on my own my own way of thinking, my own way of starting the day, for example. And I posted about this morning in our group. Um, I mean, usually I'm probably like you. I'm an early person. I wake up, and
Mm.
as soon as my eyes are open, ping, I'm like a springboard. I want to get up of the bed and start doing
Yeah.
something, right? But I'm challenging myself now in the last since this year started to wake up and not get up of the bed until I have one thought, an idea,
Mm.
which I'm calling the big idea, right? So what's today's big idea, right? So I wake up, and this is not me, because I usually wake up and like, okay, what am I doing here? Let's get up and let's do something. So I wake up, I'm conscious that I'm awake, because I look at the time, okay, it's 6 a.m. or whatnot. So I'm gonna stay here in bed until I have one thought, one idea, which will be my today's big idea. What's today's big idea? And I've been challenging myself to get up every morning with one big idea, which will be something like maybe it's an idea for a video I want to make, and that's today's big idea, or something I want to write for the next level, or something I want to do in my desk to move it around, right?
Mm.
It could be something as mundane as how I'm fixing something in my studio, or I don't have the studio yet, but like in my office space, or
Yes.
something more
Yeah.
profound like a framework for something I want to teach, right? So, but it's one idea. So I'm pushing myself every morning to not get up of the bed until that one idea has been identified.
Now,
And
do you
that's
write
new
it?
for
Do
me.
you do you, do
No,
you write
no,
it down, or you just get up and
no,
you've got that in your head, and you can carry that forward through breakfast and
yeah,
keep with that idea?
because it's an idea for just that one day. So
I
it's
see.
not an idea for a
Okay.
big project, it's like just one idea for today. So today's idea
Wow,
was
I
to,
admire that.
yeah, so today's idea was, why don't you share that? Right? And like, if I've been thinking about this, my today's big idea is like, voila, share it. So I got up, I did my run, ate my papaya, and then I went to our next level group and to our community, and I wrote about it as that
That's right.
the
Yeah,
big idea.
I read that. Yeah, and
So
now you're sharing it again tonight,
yeah,
same day, in this podcast, which will be played in a couple
published
of weeks.
later. Hmm.
Yeah.
So, but it's something that I've never tried in my life, because I like to get up and just like, start the day. So again, I don't know how long I'll keep this big idea thing going, but it's challenging me to do something different, and that
Yeah.
excites me.
Yeah.
That makes those
Yeah,
little
it's good. Well,
mundane
it's good
things.
advice for us all because whether we take it or not, it's just another good idea that we
Yeah,
can implement into our lives to work, to
yeah.
create, and to be excited about life. And
I
that
think,
as we started out, we said 2024. Let's be frank. I mean, it's not going to be an easy year for the planet, but we can make it easier for ourselves. We
Right.
can bring the focus back in on ourselves, and that is by, instead of waking in the morning and thinking, oh my God, the world's going to, in a handbasket. And, you wake up with a positive idea, one idea. And it
One
might
idea.
be just as you say, like it might just be moving your computer from that desk to the other desk, but it's going
Right.
to work better because of this. And you wake up with that idea and you go, yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And
So
you do it and you finish it that day.
yeah. So I've been like, I go to bed and I'm consciously like do a quick prayer, you know, help me God to wake up with an idea that could be useful tomorrow. And and now by like today I forgot what the idea was like a week ago, but it doesn't matter because it was an
Yeah.
idea for just that one day.
And you got it done.
Yeah, and it's a mini idea, so you know.
I think a lot of us go to bed thinking, please God, just help me go to sleep.
Yeah, and it's like when has the world been good? The world has
Of
always
course,
been, you know,
there's always been a challenge.
it's relative. You know, we have
Yeah.
more access to media. That's what we have now. We have more
And this is
access.
our issue.
You know,
This is something I think we many people in the past 10 days or so have said to me, I think I'm just gonna not gonna be reading that news. I'm
yeah,
not gonna be opening up the news sites and the
mhm,
videos that are just mayhem out there,
yeah,
because that does affect your day. And I have to do the same thing. I told you this back in,
yeah,
I think, November, when I took a 2 week hiatus,
yeah,
and it worked, and I'm
yeah.
applying it again this year. I'm still going to look at the news.
Of
I'm a
course,
news junkie. I love it. I
yeah,
love a good story. But
yeah, of course,
is it going to affect me? I can read that in the headline and say, I don't
right.
think I want to read any further, because that's going to put me into a different frame of mind.
Yeah, and the thing is, the key is like when, it's like, is that a thought I need first thing in the morning, or that's a
Oh,
thought that I can do later?
yeah,
I still, the news, there's nothing wrong with it. You want to be
yeah,
informed, but it's like, do I want that thought to permeate my mind in the time when my brain is just becoming an awareness of this day? Or do I want
yeah,
when we think about, the potential of our brain being so fresh in the morning, we just hit the reset
yeah.
button. It's like if I restart my, I'm known for like never restarting my computer. This laptop, I probably haven't restarted in like 2 months. I just
Oh,
close it,
mm,
open it, close. So there comes a point in which you start to slow down, right? So
mm,
you, at some point, I had to close all the apps and close all my tabs, which I hate. That's why I don't turn it off, because I keep so many tabs open so I can keep switching back and forth through a lot of things. So when I restart the computer, I know it's gonna be faster, it's gonna be refreshed, it's a reset, right? So do I want to clutter it right away? No, right? Because it's like when it's performing the best. So it's like the same in our brain, right? If
yeah, of
the brain
course.
is fresh in the morning, do I want to fill it out with content, or do I want to use it for my benefit? And have my
Yeah.
best thoughts, my best writing, my best ideas, what I can.
Well, and this, I think you've made mention of this, as you say, that first thought in the morning. You wrote about it today. We're
Mm-hmm.
talking about it now. These are really important parts. I know you've always been a fairly positive guy. I mean, immensely
Yeah.
positive guy, compared to a lot of us. We're kind of gloom and doom some days,
Mm-hmm.
and it's refreshing to see, because you come about your career and your growth cycles
Mm-hmm.
very positively. A lot of people that I know will see uh, change as a challenge,
Yeah.
but in a kind of a negative.
Right.
And I think if we start to see these small, minor changes that we make in our lives as a
Yeah.
positive, and starting with that first thought in the morning, I think
Yeah.
we all grow, and that's the growth we need.
Right.
We I I as I said, at the end of the year, I was not well with a mild virus, just an
Mm-hmm.
influenza. But it knocked me out pretty bad. But while I was knocked out, I was still, my brain was still working and still
Yeah.
thinking about, we're that close to 2024.
Yeah.
Uh, how can I make things? How can I change things? What are the things that I can do in my life to make change. I stopped watching as much news. That
Mhm.
was the big thing.
Yeah.
And I made a decision about my studio. You know,
I remember you
yeah,
changed
it
things
was. It
around.
had. I tell you, it was a difficult transition to move from a really working studio
Hmm.
into a home-based studio
Yeah.
where you've got, you know, a marble floor that, if it gets stained, you are really, you
You
know,
don't want to damage, yeah.
yeah, you don't want to damage. And that I think subconsciously kept me from working uh,
With
always.
freedom. Yeah, you didn't have
Yeah, and
freedom.
I denied it. I ignored it. I denied it. I said, no, 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 that's not the problem. But really, it was the problem. And the moment I made that choice to take my studio and move it outside, which is very sort of unorthodox, and it
Uh-huh.
was very, not a lot of people have their studios outside.
Yeah.
I moved my studio out into a perfect environment outside. And now I'm in a country that doesn't get snow and cold.
Right.
So it was perfect for me. And the moment I did, my whole life changed.
Yeah.
My whole way of feeling changed, my whole way of thinking. And it was a growth that I needed. I needed to let that organically grow over
Hmm.
the months and then finally make that decision to say, you know what? I think we just got to move everything out. And it
Yeah.
took me a day. I moved everything out. I put a really nice home back in this living section of our house. And
Yeah.
bingo, my it felt like a restart on my computer. It felt
Yeah.
like everything was working smoother and faster
And better.
and much more efficiently and cooler. I wasn't so heated up with all of this worry, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so I did, and I'll tell you,
That was your big idea.
that
When
was
you
the big idea, and that's what's taking me into 2024. Does it have something to do with growth? Yes, it does.
Oh yeah, of
It
course.
was
Yeah.
a personal uh, thing that I had to acknowledge, and I had to know that I was not growing by having
Right.
that simple problem of a marble floor that I knew I couldn't get around. So
Yeah.
I thought, okay, deal with it.
Yeah. No,
And it's like you without the studio. You're not putting a studio in your home. You
right.
are keeping your home a home. You will look for a studio later, or you're going to be traveling with your studio. Fantastic.
Hmm.
That's the decisions we need to make.
Yeah. Yeah. And those are, change is not easy for none of us, right? I think we are creatures of habit. And but when we push change and we make it often, then it becomes easier, because I've changed
Yes,
once, I can change again. And I think,
absolutely.
really when I think about social media and why artists we have such a hard time with social media, it's not because it's social media, but it's because it changes all the time. And I think we all
Mm.
hate change. The moment like, shoot, I already knew how to do this with pictures. Now they put reels, now they put stories, not right. It's like when you think you got it, they change something, or they add a new feature, or they change the hashtag. So it's like we just cannot seem to grasp it, right? So
Well,
because
we must, and for our own. I mean, these
yeah,
are these are the benefits that help our creative business.
right. and,
These
and
are
I
the
think
tools. These are
and I
the
think that's the
the
mindset shift that we need to make, right?
yeah,
That is
yeah.
you're never going to be able to fully understand it or catch it up, so might as well don't fight it, just like it's just how it is.
Well,
I
yesterday was a
Nobody.
good example. Do you recall?
What
You had
happened
said,
yesterday?
the night before when we had chatted, you had said, you've just try to do a video. Try to do video because video seems to be
Yeah,
something that catches, gets
people's
people
attention. Yeah.
listening and engaged.
Hmm.
And I kept saying, I don't like video. I just
Yeah.
don't like video. We've had this chat a couple of times over the year.
Yeah.
Chat
I haven't
open
hadn't convinced you
AI.
to the
It
video.
was like, nah, I can't use open AI. Oh, and now I'm using it.
Left
Every
and right.
day, and I love it.
Yeah.
But and the video was another one of those things that I've always kept at bay. It said I
Yeah.
don't like video. I don't like the way I look or sound.
Yeah.
And yeah, I took about 60 takes yesterday, but I finally got a video that I liked, and I
Yeah.
posted it. And what my message was by the time I had finished those, maybe not 60 takes, but 20 takes,
Hmm.
um, I was now comfortable in
Yeah.
something I was so uncomfortable with for so long. And I realized that, I could probably do this. And then I had said to you, but you know what? I hate that program that gives you the type thing,
Oh,
the
the
readout of what
captions.
you're saying, the
Uh-huh.
captions. And I said, I just hate it. And then I thought, there is no such word as hate. We should just drop the word hate. You know what? It's challenging me. Okay,
Yeah.
try it. And I did
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And I was
And it looked
really
good.
happy with it. And I said, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Everything that was a fear turned into a possibility. So now I woke up this morning with the first thought in my head was like, where can I shoot another video?
There you go. And now you're challenging yourself
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do another one, right? Exactly.
yeah.
Because
And
you
everything, of
broke that.
course, when I need information on
Yeah.
how to do something, if you're not around,
Yeah.
I can go to Google and,
Exactly.
I can find most answers right there. So
Yeah.
stop. What I needed to do was to stop fearing that
Yeah.
change in media. Maybe I'm not as young as the 20-year-olds out there that are so comfortable with it,
Right.
but I
Exactly.
am still alive and I still have to deal with it and I'm
Right.
still relevant. So deal with it.
Oh, and my
And
goodness.
I,
Yeah, in TikTok, there's a grandma who she has I don't know like how many millions followers. She's TikTok's grandma, and it's so funny. So like, oh my goodness, that woman, she has no fear. She does whatever. She talks about
should
whatever
be an
she wants.
inspiration.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, I don't know how old she is, and she's not afraid of it. So why would I be afraid? So, but it happens, and I think it's normal. Like um over the holidays we had my kids were here, both my kids, and then my son's girlfriend came, and one day we were going, I don't know, somewhere. We were all in the car. Yeah, was working, and I took my phone like, hey guys, be quiet for 2 minutes. I need to do a quick reel to say hi to, I don't remember what, I think, to say happy new year to my followers. So I went, I turned the phone and I say happy new year, blah, 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 and then boom, finished, posted. So my son's girlfriend, she's like, oh, I wish I could do videos that quickly. You seem so confident, and you got it done. And like, well, the reason I got it done this, I got one take, because you guys are all here, and I had the pressure that they had to be done right the first time. So but when I'm at
Yeah.
home, when I'm doing a video for, let's say, if I was doing the same video at home and there was nobody, just me,
You would be a
I,
lot more
I
conscious
would
of,
probably do it like maybe 5-6 times,
right.
because I'm more conscious about, oh, maybe the lighting could be better, or maybe I say something not as clear. I will do it again. But at some
Yes.
point I have to say, you know what, it's fine, it's good, and it is what it is.
Yes.
But and
Yeah.
it's okay. It's we want to make it good, but we just
Well,
don't, we just don't want
look,
the good to prohibit us from actually doing it.
yeah, well, we sit on YouTube, we watch Netflix, we watch all of these high production values. We don't have $1 million or $10 million
Exactly.
to produce our videos. We have like $10,
Yeah.
in our, it's the $10 versus the 10 million.
Exactly.
You're not going to get what you can get for 10 million, but we can do what we need to do
Yeah, and
with
your
the
people,
basics of information.
and that's
Yeah.
your people just want you. They just
Yeah.
want your authentic self. That's it. They're not
Yeah.
looking for the 10 million. For that, they
Yeah, I don't
paid
think
millions.
anyone's going to be coming to me or to you even, but to me and say, I think that's Academy Award winning video that you just did.
Yeah,
And I'm going to
exactly.
say, I don't think so.
No, no was.
But it's nice that you watched it, and that's the
Yeah,
most important thing is that people watch it and listen
yeah,
to it.
yeah.
And and as you say, don't worry about the likes and all of that.
Right,
It's the right people will see it when the right people see it, and
right.
that's all you. That's where we sort of throw up our hands and say, that's and that's part of growth, isn't it? Just
Exactly. Yeah.
accepting the fact that we cannot manage
Right.
social media. It manages itself, really. We just
Yeah.
manage some of the content, and that's it.
Exactly.
Where it goes, who sees it, we can't.
We can
You
manage.
know.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's part of kind of like how the world is moving and always changing, and now it's changing faster than ever. So we just have to accept that idea that things will continue to change. We just need to adapt
Yeah.
the best we can,
Well, and
and
you're a good
you know.
example. You bring it, and this program, the Artist Next Level, I'm forever grateful for. But I think this year, I'm more grateful than ever because I think
Mhm.
2024 there are a lot more people uh, feeling that they need positive versus negative. And
Yeah.
what you have done, Sergio, has brought an extreme positive to us always.
Hmm.
But I think it's really much more evident now.
Yeah, no, I'm
You
very
are
excited.
starting to see a new challenge, a
Yeah.
new growth. And when you grow, we all grow because we say, well, he's doing it,
Hmm.
and I should just follow his lead because look at, what he's doing. And
Yeah,
so
no,
I
I'm
salute
very
you for that.
excited. Thank you. I'm very excited
Yeah.
with the challenge this year. It's a our business growth challenge. We've been doing it for quite a few years, but this year we say, okay, let's throw everything that we have done out of the window. Let's redo it. Let's start from scratch. Drew, you're part of it, and
Yeah.
we're so grateful for your input on this challenge. And it's about that, right? It's about really challenge all of us in new ways, challenging all of
Yeah.
us to find aspects of our career that we can improve, that we can save time. Not It's not the
Yes.
idea of, okay, challenge for the sake of doing more, because doing more, all
Yeah.
it's gonna do is just give us more overwhelm, but rather
That's
challenge
right.
for the
Yeah.
sake of being happier, right? With
Yeah.
what we do as artists, living happier and getting better results with what we do. So looking for all the different aspects of the art career, from business, organization, productivity, wellness, mindset, what we think, how we think, so that we can find areas where that we can improve, that we can get better at, so that we can all be more efficient, and we can, at the end of the day, enjoy more of our time in the studio. I think that's
Yeah.
what we all want.
And be much more proud, when we're
Exactly.
not
Yeah.
getting the feedback, when we don't get the feedback from our peers and so forth, you can feel pretty deflated when you walk into
Right.
a studio and you think, well, if no one's looking at my work and I'm producing this work and it's good work,
Hmm.
hmm, what am I doing wrong? Well, you're not doing anything wrong. It's just that social media is telling you that, uh, that you are, if you're not getting the response and no one's watching you, it means that you aren't getting out in front of people,
Right.
and so you have to put a little bit of effort into that. And it's fun. Oh my God. The thing I feared most was video, and I always have.
Yeah.
And yet I can't wait until, we finish this podcast and I'm going to be,
Doing another
standing in
one.
some place in my garden doing a video, and I'm going to look like that, crazy guy with his phone out there in his garden again doing a video. And you know what? I love it because I don't care.
Yeah.
And I'm introducing a new part of me. That's a part of my growth.
Right.
That's our
Exactly.
growth. This is why growth is so important this year.
Yeah.
I started the year with the word hope
Okay.
in my message.
Yeah.
And I was hoping, and I am hoping that this year is going to see, you
Right.
know, extreme growth.
Hmm.
I need it, and
Yeah.
and a lot of people do. And
Yeah. No,
thanks to you, we're talking about it.
no,
So
thank you, man. And we invite all our friends who are listening, to jump into the challenge. Also, what's different about this challenge versus previous challenges is that you can jump in at any time. If you're listening to this podcast in January 20th, for example, you can jump into the challenge and start on the 20th. We will be there. We'll be working,
yes, you're not
unlike
missing
previous.
anything. You're not losing out
Right.
on anything. You can
Be-
join in. It
Exactly.
starts when you join.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's designed so when you start, that's when it kicks off. It's a 7-week challenge,
yeah,
which will start the moment you sign up for it, and it's great. It's great. It's going to be fabulous. We added some new components too. We're gonna be doing a quarterly online curated exhibition too, which
yeah.
for the artists
Really
who are
excited about that.
participating. Yeah, so we'll release themes for the show, so artists can submit for those shows. So it's gonna be really exciting. We're really looking forward to that. I've never been so excited about a challenge that we put out there, and yeah, I wake up every morning and just can't wait to to start thinking about the challenge and the things that we're gonna talk about and how we're gonna push ourselves. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad you do, but I do encourage you to start thinking too about how you're going to move your art career and do in the
Oh
next
yes, of
place you're going
course.
to visit with your art career and the boxes that you're going to buy to put your
Yeah.
art stuff in, and that
Yeah.
that in itself is that could keep me awake at night just thinking like how exciting that is. It's kind of
Yeah.
like going on tour with a famous rock musician. All
Yeah.
their equipment is in those really cool boxes,
Right.
the black and the silver boxes, and you think like touring boxes, and you think
Right.
I could do that.
I
I
can do
could
that. Yeah.
build like a whole thing that just fits nicely in my car, and I'm going to look efficient, and and
go
that's the
for it.
kind of thing that just keeps me awake.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be good. I like say already my Amazon cart already has one easel that I'm looking at to bring in
Wonderful.
here at the house. So that's the first thing that's coming.
Yeah, and one easel turns into two eventually, and then you can it's endless what you can
Yeah,
do if you keep it to the focus on what you're doing, your
right.
growth, your art, right? All of that extraneous stuff
Yeah,
can be dealt with. You will always find an easel. If you have a wall, you've found an easel.
exactly. Yeah,
Wherever you go. So
whatever.
on that note, growth. We started out by talking about seeds, planting seeds, seeing things
Mm-hmm.
grow. Uh, this has been a great conversation.
Yeah, true.
Thank you.
No, thank you for bringing the topic because I think it's a very good one. It was your idea. Like, why don't we talk about growth? This is something that we're talking about inside the next level. Something that you and we have been talking quite a bit too, as
Yes.
we connect every week. So yeah, I know. I think for all our friends listening, hopefully this conversation was useful, was inspiring. Look at ways in which you plan to grow, in which you can make room for growth as well.
Yes.
And that's that could be another topic of learning to say no, because if your life is right now overcrowded and overwhelmed, there's no place to grow. To grow, you
Yeah.
gotta cut things out. You gotta say no to some things so that you can expand and grow in new ways. And
Well,
that is
this is
hard.
pruning
That is
that
very hard.
tree.
Yeah.
You're a tree. You need to be, pruned and cleaned, and the proper
Yeah.
soil beneath you,
Mm-hmm.
and the sun above you. And that's really is as basic it is. That's nature, and
Yeah.
we are a part of nature. So just let go of all of that negativity that
Mm-hmm.
that is inhibiting us from growing,
Yeah.
and join this program.
It's gonna be awesome.
Join the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Join the program. It's a great program. What a great community. And
Yeah.
on that note, I'm going to thank you very much. Uh, and if you are listening to this, share this with your friends. If you have ideas
Mm-hmm.
for us, just as such as what Sergio said, we can, perhaps the next video might be about no, saying no.
Say
So,
no. Yeah.
all ideas are welcome because
Right.
that's growth for us. So,
Right. Perfect. And before we go, probably some of our friends like, okay, where do I sign up for the Art Next Level challenge, right?
yes,
So the way you sign up is just go to theartistnextlevel.com. The challenge is in the homepage. You don't have to go anywhere. Just go to our main domain right there. So super easy. And now you
yes.
can try it out for 14 days for only $1. So just $1
What a deal.
to test it, check it out, see if it's for you. If it's not for you, it's just $1, right? But if
Yeah.
it's for you, I think amazing things can be waiting for you. So
Yeah. In 14 days, it will give you a lot of, and
yeah,
believe me, you'll fill the 14 days with the
yeah,
amount of information
yeah.
available to you
Hmm.
on the site. So
So
you have
super.
full access to that. Great.
Yep.
All right, my
Thank,
friend.
thank you, Drew.
You're going to bed, so think good thoughts, a thought when you wake
Happy
up in the
thoughts.
morning.
Happy
Yeah,
thoughts.
and I'm going to pursue my day here in Kuala Lumpur with that thought of the day. And
Exactly. Happy videos. All
we'll see
right.
you soon.
Thank you, my friends. Thank you. We'll see you at the next level.
Check out our website at www.theartistnextlevel.com, where you will find our podcast library, learn about our upcoming webinars, find resources relevant to your career, and much more. Thanks for listening to today's podcast, and we'll see you at the next level.